Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of the internet, formerly known as ARPANET. You know what, folks? It was once controlled by we the people. It was once controlled by us. But now it is controlled by the good old billionaires, something that we will mitigate in the long run. The voice is coming back. Not completely, but the voice will be back. Anyway, folks, without further ado, let's move it on to El Estudio. Good morning, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba.
Howard, where are you? Where are you, Howard?
It's Howard.
Today.
So you're flying solo today, my dear brother.
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey, you know what that means? That means he's back.
All right. Okay, how are you this morning, Egberto?
Oh, I'm doing fine. The voice is getting better. I took a lot of the advice that people gave me yesterday. I went ahead and took Mucinex. I also went ahead to the store and bought me some turmeric root, ginger root, boiled it up, threw some lime in there with honey. I had quite a bit of that last night, and it looks like we're slowly making a comeback.
Oh, good. You sound a lot better.
So what's up, my dear brother? What? I hope you have some good thoughts for us this morning. All right, talk to me.
Here we go. Trump inherited a stable economy. Why is he destroying it with regressive tax policies? Why is he stealing from the American citizens' pockets with tariffs that are shutting down trade with other nations? Why does the mainstream media ignore and downplay the significance of progressive protest and grassroots actions? Because corporate media does the dirty work of misinforming the public for the neoliberal elites who fear power of a mobilized, well-informed public. The people are rising up against Trump. The politicians are starting to turn on Trump. I predict Trump will have trouble getting anything done. A second failed administration.
I could not agree with you anymore, Jack. I could not agree with you anymore. By the way, are you feeling a whole lot better than you were? I know your recovery took a little bit more time than normal. Are you feeling better? All good?
Yes. I didn't suffer a lot of symptoms because I had it before, and I guess my immune system was strong enough. It was just the brain fog that was messing me up. But no, I'm fine now. I feel near 100%.
Well, good. We want you at 100% of the time. Anyway, thank you for being here, my brother. Today, as you all know, is Neil Aquino Day. It's Thursday morning. So Neil Aquino is in the house. Neil Aquino is the founder of the Houston Democracy Project at HoustonDemocracyProject.com. It is he's a very important figure here in town. Don't forget to visit his blog, HoustonDemocracyProject.org, where he has a lot of pertinent information. But without further ado, my dear brother, El Señor, Neil Aquino, how are you doing, sir?
Right. Good morning, world. Morning, world, from our neighborhood to the globe. I'm glad that everyone here is on the upswing and back. We've got a strong connection this week, and looks like we're ready to go for a great show ahead.
Well, great, Neil. Hey, come on. If you're on the show is great, Neil. You know that.
Well,
brother.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, I want to welcome in the house. I started my Substack up late, so the initial group of folks I missed, but JRC is in. Thank you for being here, JRC. And on our regular chat,
both, I guess that would be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Live, and all the others. I want to welcome in the chat Joanna from Donde? Los Angeles, California. Good morning, Joanna. And Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Lee the Bearcat starts out by saying, are globalists part of the 1% rich? If this is true, then how do you balance what some say Trump is doing, making people richer, but these would be not globalists, right? Globalists hate Trump, right? No, they don't. Look, there are all kind of nouns and things going around. Rich people, the super rich, love Donald Trump because no matter what Donald Trump does, he's willing to make a deal. You're willing to pay, he'll make a deal. That's who he is. Aren't globalists part of the progressive support via climate and agenda of being together as one of this world? No. And first of all, I what the right wing likes to do is they like to use a word, demonize that word, and then from then on, that word has a certain connotation to it. It's used as a pejorative. Liberal is a really good word. And look at what they have done to the word liberal to a large percentage of America. Same with progressive. Same with woke. They have made woke a bad word to some, to the uninformed. They have made woke a bad word. And all woke really means is be awoke, be awakened, observe, don't be asleep. Don't let folks do things to you. Am I woke? You bet your bottom dollar. I want to be the wokest person possible. Because I want to be able to see, I want to be able to interpret. So anytime I hear somebody saying, I am not woke or the wokeism, I look at that person as not being intellectually savvy. When I hear somebody talk about anti-woke, it immediately tells me that it'll take more work to get them where they need to go. I want people who are woke. So I am not going to I'm not going to allow the right wing to change the definition of words. And for all of you who decide you're anti-woke, remember it means you're anti-intelligence. Because woke just means you're open to be informed. Woke means you are awake. That's what it means. Anyway, what do we have going on today, my dear brother? Neil Aquino, talk to me.
So I do want to get to the protests on Saturday and make sure everyone knows about that. But I want to go actually the way I didn't quite expect when but I want to just talk about, even though it's a bit out of what I talk about, the cities of Houston's finances. There was a presentation yesterday by the city controller about all the overtime. And I'm going to connect this to Trumpism in just a minute. So the city, from the Houston landing, the city is expected to spend twice as much as its budgeted amount on overtime this year. So some of it's solid waste, and no one seems mad about that. It's a smaller portion. They're not paid well, and our storms, and plus then also all the dumping. And any Houstonian, especially in certain communities, the dumping is just awful. So no one's mad about that. It's the police and fire. The city budgeted $65 million in overtime across all departments this year. The controller's office now projects the city will spend about $137 million in overtime by the end of the fiscal year, June 30th. So it's almost budget season. They do the budget in May. And every month, the city controller, Chris Hollins, comes and makes a presentation, and he and Mayor Whitmire inevitably spar. It's always a good show. But part of the reason this is so significant is that for all of our city disasters, when there's a federal disaster declaration, 75% of the overtime that the city gets, predominantly police and fire, is reimbursed by the federal government. There's no guarantee of that anymore. There's a police contract coming up, and their so-called union, right? It's not an AFL-CIO union. Not that the firefighters union has showed any solidarity with workers either. This is going to be a big ticket item. So the police and fire I believe, takes 60% of our general operating funds. I believe that's the case. So then also, Councilwoman Abby Kamen yesterday asked the finance director, Melissa Dubowski, who works for the mayor, and she seems very competent and skilled. What do we stand to lose from the loss of federal grants? Dubowski said it was $2.5 to $3 billion over the next 5 or 6 years. So that's a budget hit of $500 million. Ms. Kamen, Councilwoman Kamen, said that health department workers sustained by grants have already been let go. And then she said, this is from yesterday's council session, not what I'm reading in the landing. Then Councilperson Kamen said that Congress wants to tax municipal bonds, and that municipal bonds had not been taxed since 1913, since the Woodrow Wilson administration, and that we pay. So I'm not a city finance expert, but we're all familiar with our city will issue some bonds to pay for the road program. So you have police and fire gobbling up the money. I have no confidence that they are really harshly auditing and monitoring who's getting overtime. The municipal bonds, I don't know what the prospects in Congress are. The grants are going. We have ever more disasters. I'm not seeing the money that John Whitmire promised. Remember, John Whitmire said, I have all these relationships with the state. The legislative session is well along its way. You can't file a bill anymore. The deadline is passed. So even though this isn't a kind of the democracy issue normally I talk about, if you want to see the effects of Trumpism, this city, Houston, faces a huge financial problem. Police and fire, who generally don't live in our city, the absence of disaster money coming in, federal grants being pulled up. That's the local implication. And Councilwoman Tiffany Thomas talked about, well, I sure hope we don't get measles or bird flu around here. And they are bankrupting our cities, Egberto. They are willfully bankrupting our cities.
Oh, that is absolutely the goal. Now, it's interesting that you said a lot of these firefighters and police officers that are taking advantage of overtime, they don't even live in the city. These are people that were, and many of them were very supportive of the Trump administration, an administration that is Whitmire, an administration that is cutting the funds that they are dependent on for this overtime that they receive. So I mean, the insanity that these people continue with. And again, I'm talking about the police union, and I'm also talking about the fire union. Now, look, when the fire department came out and wanted a raise and wanted parity with the police officers, I was 100% on board. I spoke to my then councilman Martin, and I told him, I said, I would support that. And not only did I support that, to the Honorable Sylvester Turner, when he didn't really honor what the population voted for, which was to compensate the fire department accordingly, I took exception to that. Now let's go even further. I actually supported that in order to make sure these guys who risk their lives are paid appropriately, that if we needed to raise certain taxes in certain areas, that should be done. But my loyalty to these firefighters, et cetera, was not returned neither for the population at large or for their constituency in the first place, because their support for an administration that is cutting the funds to the city that pays them shows a mental ineptitude of the unions that both of these guys support that must be penalized. And therefore, when Hollins comes in and he points out to the mayor of the excesses of overtime for people who don't support, or rather who support the policies that are going to put their overtime budget in deficit, I am with him, and it's something that we've got to mitigate. Go ahead, my brother.
Right, absolutely. And I'll end that segment by just saying that our firefighters, it was reported by Politico, the online political site Politico last year, that the local Houston firefighters had a hand in the National Firefighters Union not endorsing Harris. They made no endorsement. They had endorsed Biden in 2020. The local had a hand, and now we're seeing it. So I want to talk about the protests. There are big protests coming to downtown Houston and
Neil,
across
hold 1 second.
Texas.
Let me just welcome a couple of folks. Welcome,
Sure,
Jay Ray. Says Buenos dias, sounding better, hermano. Yeah, Jay, I'm feeling better. And after the program, I'm going to take a little more of the potion that you guys recommended. And I hope to be better for the 3 o'clock, even better for the 3 o'clock program. Eric Hayes is in the house. Welcome, Eric, from Kingwood, Atascocita. Jay Ray is from Houston. Eric says, Neil, overtime is necessary, and Whitmire is pointing out waste, and the city controller is part of the problem. You're absolutely wrong about Eric. It is important that you stop buying the Kool-Aid. I know you personally. You do have intellect in between those ears. Let's go ahead and use that. Go ahead, my dear brother.
Right. The overtime is essential in many cases. The overtime is essential. Based on what I was watching on council yesterday, even pro-police and firefighter city council members had some seemed to have some pretty substantial wariness about the money being spent. And overtime is essential. No one was arguing that our overtime wasn't. That was never even posited as a premise. The 50501 protest, you may have heard, there's a protest, City Hall, noon to 3 at Houston City Hall. And it is a series of national protests. If you may remember, there were protests in each state capital on January 20th. There was here in Houston, then also in other places on President's Day protest. And there were 500 people at Houston City Hall on President's Day. So there's a national group, 50501. I've come after some initial wariness a couple months ago. I've come to think they're okay. There are local folks working about it, and they are partnering with Indivisible nationally. But really, there are local organizers, and this is being spread by social media. It's decentralized. There aren't famous or well-known names that you've heard that are associated with it. It'll be at Houston City Hall at noon. I urge you to go. It's 12 to 3. There are protests. I'm looking at the 50501 on Facebook. Lubbock, Conroe, locally. Just a few local closer areas. College Station. I believe there's one in Katy. Flower Mound, that's not nearby. Alpine. So these are Longview, Beaumont. So upshot, these are across the country. These are in Texas communities that you would not imagine. Frisco, Denton, Wichita Falls, Victoria. And the 50501 is on Facebook. If you go 50501 Texas, and it can be difficult. You need to Google around to see if there's one in your community. But downtown Houston, 12 to 3, Saturday, there is a forecast potentially of some rain, and we're going to hope that stays off. But I'm going rain or shine, and I encourage folks to do it. It is essential.
Let me just say
people
this:
see each other out there.
I think if people believe that they want their voices heard, unless there's lightning, should not be an issue. Let me give you a little quick story. I don't know if you remember during the Occupy movement. In fact, the author of the Occupy book, he has quite a few quotes from yours truly in there, where we talked about what was, why the Occupy movement ultimately came to a close, etc. But we had here in Kingwood a 52 continuous weekends where we occupied a particular corner in Kingwood, Texas for about 3 to 4 hours every weekend, every Saturday. And I remember there was one day it was lightning and storming that Saturday. Woke up that way. And I woke up with my wife and I said, we said we were going to do this for 52 consecutive weeks. And I asked her to drive me there this time. Actually, we went with 2 cars because what I wanted to do is I didn't know if anybody else was going to show, but I went there and had her open the car window and taped me in the rain, banging on me, taped me saying, we've said it was going to be 52 weeks, rain or shine. The Occupy movement was going. We were going to have it. And let me tell you, after she left, I went and I started putting our signs out around the area that we occupied. And I thought I would be the only one there. And believe it or not, that very rainy day, Drew, as the water pelted, as the thunderstorms hit, that was the one day when a whole lot of people also showed up. But that wasn't the only thing. Near the end of that Occupy day, I wish I remember what Saturday it was so that folks could corroborate the weather conditions that day. What happened then was the clouds just broke after the thunderstorm. And we had one of the most beautiful endings for that particular Occupy Kingwood day. So, I mean, folks, when you want something to happen, if you want something to happen, you have to be willing to put skin in the game, as Neil pointed out. Neil, continue, my brother.
Right. So, it really, whoever first said showing up is half the game is correct. And we are, my own belief is that we are headed to a larger series of protests later. We won't get into speculation about martial law, suspension of civil liberties. I think those things are very possible. I really want to strongly encourage folks to show up, find your local demonstration. There's also every Friday, noon to 1. So tomorrow there is a protest. Tomorrow will be the third week at the Social Security office at 12,203 Westheimer. It's at Westheimer and Eldridge. It's a great corner, and it is about 6 miles outside the loop. There is strong engagement. A number of younger Black and Latino motorists go by. You wish that our Democratic Party and our elected officials would gather that energy. This is well outside the loop. They are very, all sorts of folks are extremely supportive. And this event is organized by a woman in Katy who just organized it, right? The First Amendment is your permit. She's just put it up on social media. It hasn't cost her a dime beyond a little bit of gas.
Neil,
and making a sign.
I didn't know about this one. Tell me more. You're telling me it's tomorrow?
It's tomorrow at Westheimer and Eldridge, 12203 Westheimer.
Is that a big Social Security office?
There's a Social Security office in, kind of a strip mall.
Is it one that they intend to close or not?
No, it's just that I don't know that this has been targeted, but it's there. And
is that the first one they're doing, or is this a weekly thing?
This will be week 3.
Have you been to one of them yet, or?
I've been to both. Yeah.
And a lot of people show up?
Yeah. The first week there were about 40. The second week, because there'd been a prospect of rain all week, which didn't materialize. There were about 30, and what a well-trafficked corner. And anything outside the loop, like some of these Tesla dealerships, I mean, there is a lot of enthusiasm.
What time is it again?
Noon to 1.
I may go.
It's a haul. It's a haul. I'm not discouraging you, but and there's parking. There's parking in the strip plaza.
No, if I go, what it would be is I would simply go there to interview 5 or 6 people to hear why they're out there and put it on the radio, let people understand. Because a lot of people, one of the things that haven't been happening is that we haven't been getting a lot of coverage. People are protesting throughout the country a lot.
Right.
Rachel Maddow has been covering it very well, but she's only a 1-hour show. And we get snippets of these on different media. I think we need to make it more obvious that there are more people protesting. And even on your, I'm on your website right now at HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Even that, I think both on your website, my website, and others, maybe all of us, and you notice I always give my mea culpa, maybe all of us need to have more stories showing that people are, in fact, putting their bodies on the line for these things. I haven't been out. I've been sick, but sometimes you have to go out there and hit the pavement and actually talk to where the people are at. I hope. So I may consider going out there tomorrow just to get a few interviews of these people and why they're doing it. And I trust that I have a big a mixer for the Houston Peace and Justice Center on Saturday. And I think it conflicts with the 501 protest at City Hall. I hope you interview a couple of folks so that we can throw it up here on the radio as well with what they have to say.
Okay. Yeah. I can do that with my phone. And I think what you said just struck to the heart of what's going on. So there are protests. They are decentralized. There have been many of them. You use the term risk. I mean, that's right. And so and that's a blog post. Actually, my today's blog post that I have that is mostly written is about that these protests. Yeah, they're safe, but there's no full safety. We're facing a right-wing authoritarian takeover of the United States, and that by definition is filled with nasty people who do mean things. And there is no guarantee of safety at any of these protests. I think we need to actually imbibe that in our thoughts, that there is no full safety. And then also we're interacting with police who will do what they will, and Trump is trying to give them immunity. But the quick upshot is there are protests. You can organize a protest. The First Amendment is your permit. If you get 5 people on a sidewalk with signs in a visible place, you've done a hell of a thing. It is hard to get 5 people. It is hard to get 3 people. And stick with it. If you don't want to lead something, then look for something you can support or organize something at your home or a phone bank. But that's what I'm saying. You've got it just right. You can do it. It is being done. It should be seen.
And let me just add to that. And it always also in the long run at falls back to money as well. So some people may say, well, I can't really be out there. But a lot of these 501c3s that are having these movements, you'll find that many times they're asking for support. Whether it's support to make sure they have monies to buy water for the people who show up, to get transportation for the people who show up, to get donuts and coffee for the people who show up. Fund these people. Right here in Kingwood, Cindy Hendrickson is running our Indivisible Houston, and I know she has a group that's going to be going out to do quite a few things. Support these organizations, and I probably should have Cindy on sometime. And Cindy, I don't know if you're listening or not, but we probably should have Cindy on at some time to talk about her efforts with the Houston, or rather the Kingwood Indivisible. I know that Daniel with the Houston Indivisible is doing some good work, and he's starting to get some support from others in the area. But again, we all need to be supportive. Support these organizations, both with your bodies if you can, with your write-ins if you can, with your blogging if you can, with your Facebook posts if you can. Even if you can't go, putting it out there. Neil, by the way, Neil, are you going to that thing tomorrow at the Eldridge?
Yeah, I sure am. And
well, let me say this. What I may do is we may go ahead and you be the correspondent out there with a direct link to our program directly out there, and you can talk to people, and we can actually do that in real time. We'll talk about it offline.
Great. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Talk to me today. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, let's see. One welcome, Billy Allison Irwin. How you doing, beautiful? She says, right on. Listening old school radio. Oh, so you are listening on air today. We also have my good friend Glenn Ryan. He says, that's right, Eric. No beating police and breaking into Capitol building to subvert an election, right? Oh, Glenn, you know why I love you, Glenn? You know exactly how to put it to the hypocrisy of these guys trying to tell the left, oh, don't do it. The left is not the ones that beat up on police officers. The right does that. The left are not the one that defecates in government buildings. Oh, that's right. That is what the right does. No, we are decent. And many of the crazy stuff you saw in Portland, Oregon, a lot of that can be has been proven to be these infiltrators that were designed to do it. We have video of the black masked guy who tried to get something going in what's the town in Michigan where we had all the protests? That Michigan town where the police officer shot the guy and created a whole lot of protests and riots. Anyway, the instigator, we know who they were. So, Glenn Ryan, you're always on point. I'm going to call Glenn and Patrick the on-pointers. Let's see. I need to salute some guys in the Substack. Gayla Kunis from Evans, Georgia. Thank you for being here, Gayla. Cynthia Jackie Skeeter says stocks down, but Tesla has a $120 billion surge. You know why? Because they believe they're going to be bailed out by the government. Look,
man, I'll tell you what.
Well, go ahead, Neil.
No, I'm just maybe they're going to be building some tanks for martial law or something.
I know. All right, for all of you in the Substack, sometimes I don't. The Substack interface is not the best. My next meeting with when they have the open house for streaming at Substack, I'm going to have some suggestions for this because this is not good. But anyway, Cynthia, Jackie Skeeter, welcome. V. Sneed, welcome. Gayla Kunis, welcome. Barbara Wren, Lewis, Maria Machet, Ginny Morgan, Mimim Prism of Insights, welcome aboard. We also have in the house Jackie Campisi. Welcome, Jackie. How you doing? She said to Neil, thanks for the information about local protests. So, folks, Neil gave us the information that tomorrow at noon, there will be at the Social Security office at Eldridge and
Westheimer,
12 and Westheimer. Right.
12203 Westheimer.
Right. So
plenty of parking.
Plenty of parking, he says. So something to check out. All right, brother Patrick is on the line. And by the way, folks, the number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Brother Patrick, talk to me, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for coming in, Neil. And I don't like going long when you're on because you have a lot to say. But I wanted to report Brian. I wanted to report Brian. Yesterday, a red flag went up when he said that SpaceX doesn't get subsidies. They get all sorts of subsidies. They're one of the largest recipient of FCC subsidies for telecommunications and internet. And the reason why I want to focus on that is over a decade ago, the state of Louisiana decided that they were going to try and attract businesses, call centers, and data centers by having a state-run internet. They were going to provide it at a very low cost to all the residents and free to the businesses. And they started building the infrastructure. They passed it through both houses. Started building the infrastructure, and Comcast and AT&T sued them. And they sued them on the premise that they could not make money in Louisiana if the state had and so they said that was anti-competitive, and they shut it down after the public money already started going into it, and then the public money had to defend it. And what they did was they won in court for higher internet prices in Louisiana for everybody. Now, what I'd like to contrast here is we're giving public money to send satellites into space for internet, but then when the state tries to make something affordable for the residents, a private organization turns around and sues them. That doesn't sound right to me. And since Brian wanted to give me an economic lesson, he can maybe help me understand that.
Again, that is such standard procedure. That is what has affected internet. Look, I'm from Panama, Central America, and you can go in Panama City, Colon, all these other places, and in this case of the middle of Colon, bad housing, all that good stuff. But brother, the internet is good. Telephones, cell phones, all of that. Internet is great. I mean, it is sad. I went to a funeral. My wife's aunt passed, and I'm at the place that they have what is supposed to be good internet, and I am used to at my office studio here to have 1 gig internet up. I could barely get 256K. Listen to me, not meg, K. 256K in the rural areas. Okay, so and all of this is not because of technology not being capable. It's just that in the area where they live, you may have, they're on their family lives on 40 acres or something like that, or 38 acres, something like that, 38 acres. So everything is sparse. These are people that have a whole lot of land, so it's not economically viable for you to run all this cable and fiber and all of that out there if it's not subsidized. But there is reason to subsidize it because, again, you just mentioned it. Think about a company coming in there because that infrastructure is there and hiring 100 people. It makes sense, but that's not how capitalism works. I once told folks that capitalism don't take risks. It is risk averse. And people are like, oh no, the reason we have profit is to take. No. If you take a look at the definition of capitalism, how things are done, the research that's done in colleges and universities, where a large percentage of the research ultimately fails, that is where the risks get taken. And after the success comes, that's when capitalism take over. Continue, my friend.
Well, that was pretty much what I was trying to sum up, and I was trying to contrast the public option against the private. The private would be more expensive, the coverage would be less, and then the private won't even try and compete with the public. So if privatization is so good, why is the private industry so scared of the public option?
Brother, that's what we've been saying. The lie that a large percentage of Americans believe is that the private sector is better at everything. No, the private sector is better at making pizzas because you get 1,000 different pizza flavors. That's great. But the private sector is lousy at providing healthcare. The private sector is lousy at creating broadband. The private sector is lousy of infrastructure for electricity, etc., because they do it at minimal cost for profit maximization. That means it's not the companies that take the risk, it's the people who depend on those services who take the risks. And when we teach Americans that and prove it to them, we'll be in a better spot. Thank you so kindly, my dear Patrick. I'll see you at 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make it Saturday so you can introduce me to Mr. Green.
All right, that'll be great, brother. See you. Did you get the address, or do I need to send it to you?
You need to send it. I was going to send you an email asking for it.
Okay, excellent. I'll wait for that. Thank you, brother. And anyway, we'll talk. Have a great one, Patrick. Let's go to Brother Bard.
Good morning, sir. I am very disappointed with Donald Trump. But anyway, Happy Liberation Day.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you said you're disappointed. I'm waiting to hear why.
Well, we found all this waste and fraud in the government, and nobody's been arrested. So,
well, answer your question. You just gave the answer to the question. If they found the waste and fraud and nobody was arrested, that means the waste and fraud was a fraud. Because if somebody was to be arrested, Donald Trump would make sure that every television station is there to watch the pep walk of that person arrested for fraud in the federal government. And the fact that you saw nobody should give you the answer right there, my brother. There was no fraud found. And guess where the fraud is? The fraud can be found in places Elon Musk is not allowed to look at. Okay, the fraud is found in the money that SpaceX gets. The fraud is found in the money the defense industrial complex gets. The fraud is found in the black areas within the federal budget that goes towards those false militia or those private militias that execute in the Middle East. That's where the fraud is, but they can't touch it. So, if you really want the fraud, go find it. But evidently, you can't. Anything else, Bart, before we move on?
Yeah, the fraud is they've signed up 2 million illegals for Social Security payments.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Remember, we do not use the airwaves that belongs to all of the listeners. Listeners, this airwave belong to you. You can ensure through the FCC and everything that lies are not told. What you just heard from Bard is a lie that got over the air that I was able to correct immediately. No, this is not an opinion. Let's release Bard from his lying methodologies and Neil, let's continue, brother.
I'll just say, I watched Dan Crenshaw, as I know you did too.
Yes.
Wasn't a town hall. It was a constraint. And that was interesting. I wrote about that at the HoustonDemocracyProject.com blog, and I'll make a couple quick points. So Dan Crenshaw a couple of weeks ago had a forum with the Woodlands Economic Development entity, and he said, I'll just say a couple things. He said that he didn't believe that there was a lot of Social Security fraud. He said that. Yeah. He said that he got a question from the Montgomery County Food Bank, right? And he seemed to think even that they did good work, but he didn't offer any suggestion about how he would help them. He said that he used the term twice, or throwing the baby out with the bathwater, about the firings. I know I think I'm exactly quoting when he said firing a lot of people doesn't necessarily make government more efficient. And the way that the conversation wrapped up was that the moderator, who's with this Montgomery County and the Woodlands Economic Development and group to promote local commerce, made a pitch for the Montgomery County. This is a county that borders Harris County here. Montgomery County road bond. His last pitch was for government, and these are the bonds that presumably Congress is trying to tax that we talked about earlier. So municipal bonds have not been taxed since 1913. Here's someone who appeared to be a Republican, but the upshot, just so you don't think I'm saying anything overly favorable about Crenshaw, is that he said 4 or 5 things that made sense, but then didn't say at all when he'd be standing up to Trump. And if you look at his Twitter feed, it's the same old horse hockey. But they know, and they still don't do what's right.
It is, Brother Glenn Ryan says, where do these callers get this ridiculous information? Bart is his name. You can't fix stupid and you can't fix Bart. I am not trying to fix Bart at all. I think Bart is far gone. But like I said, the airwaves belong to everybody. As long as you tell the truth, it's okay.
That's a very democratic notion. Yeah.
I'll kick you off as soon as you start to misuse the airwaves or you try to misinform our audience. But Glenn ends and he says, "Sorry, Egberto, my patience is thin for fools today." No, it's not. Look, your patience should be thin for fools every day, Glenn. So that's it. Let's go to Bruce on line number 1.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I don't have any conspiracies today or stories about one-eyed rabbits. What I got is next week, Tuesday the 8th at my community center, but community centers all around the county, they're having their yearly meeting with the public about public safety. And I went last year. They had representatives from all the different police departments, sheriffs, constables, and even the commissioner was there. And they all gave little speeches. And there was time at the end for questions. And last year, I kind of hammered them. This year, I'm having a brain freeze. Maybe it's a senior thing. I want to ask you, since I only get one question in probably, what question do you want me to ask them?
You know what? For somebody that is more engaged with that, I'm going to throw that to Neil. Neil, what's the best question to ask them?
This is Harris. This is a Harris County.
Yes, they're going to have the commissioner. They're going to have it at community centers all over, but the one in my neighborhood is Tuesday the 8th. It's the commissioner, representatives from all the sheriffs in the police departments and the little police departments and Houston Police Department, and then they all give up and give a little speech about budget and how crime and
Who's your
blah, blah,
commissioner?
blah. And they take questions from the audience.
Who's your county commissioner?
Tom Ramsey.
Oh, Ramsey. Well, I mean, Ramsey is the one. You could ask Ramsey. He's the one Republican commissioner among the 5 county commissioners we have, including the county judge. I mean, you could ask him if defunding federal law enforcement makes Harris County safer. They always go about defending the police. We've been attacking the FBI. I never thought I'd be on the air, defending the federal police. But you could ask him if defunding federal law enforcement is making us safer, or you could ask about the public safety implications of cutting off health research. But I think if you've got a Republican commissioner there, you can ask a solid policy-based question, not just looking to make a point or make a point of yourself. How is what we're seeing from the administration you support? How does that enhance public safety?
Oh, wow. I think that open-ended one is great because it allows him to put it bluntly, make a fool of himself, because there's not a correct the answer that he's going to give is going to be diametrically opposed to what the Trump administration is actually doing.
Right. I mean, is the share, our.
Did you hear that, Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah, that last one that Neil said, my humble opinion is the actual question, because that leaves it open, and given that is taped, that answer can actually be then digested. I like that, Neil. That's a very good question.
Right.
That last one. Okay. Anything else, Bruce?
Just one quick thing, and we won't discuss it today. There's not time, but sometime I'd like you to see if you can get the callers to organize a little picnic or something amongst the listeners that call in Memorial Park or whatever. We do a potluck, and they can meet each other. I can meet Augie, Patrick, Brian would be welcome. We could hash out things.
Repeat that. What is that again, Bruce? Repeat that. What was that?
I'd like to have us sometime in the future organize a little picnic at Memorial Park or someplace. All the callers in, and we could kind of meet each other. And
I would love that. I will actually come to that.
Welcome.
All right, look. Why don't you take
talk about that later? But
yeah, well, look, we don't have to. You just take the lead and put it together. You're a leader on getting a meetup of our callers. I love that.
Okay, and finally, Social Security Administration has a giant office off of 290 right past where Sam Houston bisects 290. Sometime we need to organize a protest over there. But anyway, I'm done.
Okay, wait, Bruce. We're going to throw a lot of stuff on you right now. Listen to exactly what Neil has taught us today, and that is, if you have an idea of something to do to make lives better for your fellow Americans, get your posse and do it. And the good thing about it is you have a big posse. You already have your radio guys here that call in every day. You've got a posse, and I know Glenn Ryan is right there with you. So you guys put it together. Talk to you later, Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Egberto.
Love you, brothers. Let's go to Brother Harry. Come on.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Jack. Yeah, thank you, Bruce. That's a good idea. We should have a picnic so that we all can meet each other, including, I guess we should throw Bard in there since he likes to do.
I want everybody. I want everybody. I want everybody.
Exactly. And then we can try to bounce the truth off of Bard and Brian when they're not telling the truth. And they like to do live entertainment radio on here. I think that person you were talking about, Egberto, you were talking earlier about in what happened in Michigan with the protests there. I believe I was looking at him. I think the black man that got killed, his name was Patrick Loyola and Frank James, and obviously he's from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I think that's what you're referring to.
That may be it.
Yeah, I was looking that up when you mentioned it earlier on the radio, but. As far as you, Neil, I think everybody should go get out there and protest with Al Green, as Ray said yesterday. You need to if you're unhappy with some of the things that Mayor Whitmire is doing, protest that. Protest the Social Security, push it back on that. Now, the one thing I did look up on that, because I know my brother, because of the dialysis, he's going to be applying for Social Security disability. With Social Security disability, I think, and there was one other, it's seniors that are getting Social Security. When Trump was talking about, well, you're going to have to show up in person and prove that you're a citizen. They had to walk that back, and I know my cousin, his aunt, he's been getting Social Security since he was born with hemophilia, so he gets a disability check. So I think. You are going to be able to call the Social Security the offices that are still open, and if you're getting disability or you signed up for disability, you won't have to drive somewhere. Elizabeth Warren talked about that last week with somebody when one of the Republican senators refused to answer her question, and they're walking that back with Social Security for people who have disability.
Harry, you got to speed it up for me, Harry. You got to speed it up for me.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to get that out of the way. One other thing I did mention with what's her name, Crawford, the justice. She also is against that voter ID. So thank God that she won in Wisconsin, and that they can push back this gerrymandering and this voter suppression that they're trying to do in a lot of these red states.
All right. Now look, let me just say this thing, okay? Voter ID, a lot of Democrats in Wisconsin voted to support voter ID. If you take a look, it was by a large margin, everybody voter ID, because the way the message was premised is like, oh, we don't want people who are not Americans voting, that we're Americans should be voting. I don't have a problem with that in theoretically. The problem is, how do you prove your ID? And voter ID can be used as voter suppression. But the thing that people don't understand is that foreigners, undocumented workers, undocumented immigrants, the furthest place that they're going to be is from a voter place, a voter stand. They don't want to be caught. Absolutely. So it's silly. It's intellectually dishonest to claim that you need voter ID to make sure people have the right to vote. It's silly because foreigners are not trying to vote. They're running away from anywhere where their identity can come to place. Hey, Bruce, I got to go to give Brian a minute or so, okay? Let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. You got a minute.
How long?
You got about a minute and a half. Come on, talk.
Okay. March 31st, a man died. He was a self-made billionaire. His name was Junior Buckham. He was an NBA star. Ended up being self-made $1.4 billion. And he didn't throw away his money like other NBA or professional sports people did. He owned like 35 Wendy's. He owns corporations. His children actually went in and did janitorial service for his business. But yet you continually say making money off the backs of others. And it's kind of always upsets me when you say that.
Brian, I don't. Here's the deal, Brian. I don't give a flying you know what, my dear brother, if you get upset because I make a statement of fact. I am not saying that if that guy didn't work his butt off, that his kids didn't work in the place and of which he made $1 billion. You answered the question with your statement. The guy had 35, whatever franchise that was. True. And each of those franchise had several hourly workers. And many of those hourly workers that he had paying, whatever that hourly worker is, which is under a living wage, generally speaking, for the McDonald's or the Burger Kings or whatever. So when I make the statement of fact that these guys, because of the wage scale, because of the amount that's paid and not paid for health services, etc., are making their money on the backs of others. I'm not taking it back or buying your notion that this I respect the basketball player that played by the capitalist game. That's fine. And he made $1 billion legally. All I'm saying, the process itself is a antiseptically slaved making process. Period. No arguments. It's not up for debate. That's just how the system was designed. All right. I got to go to one other caller, which is line number one.
You're not going to let me finish, are you?
Oh, well, go ahead. Finish. What do you need to say? What else do you need to say, sir?
My wife is from China. Okay. Yeah. My wife is from China. When she got here, she needed an ID card. Okay. She needed an ID card. After that, she wanted a driver's license. We took her down to get the learner's permit. She did not take a driver's test. She got a driver's license. Okay. 6 months later, voter registration card showed up. So yeah, what about voter ID now? Is that a fact?
I have no idea what you're trying to say, but thank you, Brian. I got to get out of here. Anyway, folks, look, let me pass it to the studio real quick. Anything you got to say, Jack?
Yeah, woke is a term that diminishes being informed and aware. Progressive eyes are wide open.
Thank you, brother. Hey, Neil, give us a closer real quick.
Great. Visit HoustonDemocracyProject.com, Houston Democracy Project blog, 50501 protest, City Hall, noon, and Saturday, and there are protests near you wherever you are.
Please, folks, visit HoustonDemocracyProject.com. You can find the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or you can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program